This is a comedy podcast dedicated to the mysterious. My name is Cassidy.
My name's Amanda.
And what's up, guys?
What's up, Doc?
We have a very fun special episode planned for you guys today.
We do.
So I wanted to say thank you. Thank you to Michaela for reaching out to us. So Michaela works at the Barrymore Film Center in New Jersey, and they are in Fort Lee, New Jersey. They're a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to preserving the legacy of Fort Lee as the birthplace of American cinema.
Wow.
I know, pretty good, right?
That is good.
They have studios including Universal, Fox, and Eclair that were first established and operated in Fort Lee up until the 1920s when filmmakers moved to California. That's how we got Hollywood. Hello, what's up?
Hollywood.
And the Barrymore Film Center was established in 2022, so it's fairly new.
Wow.
It has 253 seats for their art house and a repertoire theater that works towards showing a wide array of films from multiple perspectives and seeks to engage and inspire a diverse audience. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
So Michaela reached out to us. Obviously, we are huge film buffs. We
went to film school.
We love movies. I love the idea of preserving art and cinema. And so when she reached out to us and said, hey, would you guys want to do a little like mini collab ep? We were like, hell yeah. We love we love to support a nonprofit. We love New Jersey.
We do love New Jersey.
And we love movies. So we just wanted to shout out Michaela and the Barrymore Film Center. You can find them at barrymorefilmcenter.org. And when we get to our stories, I'll explain what the little connection is.
Yeah, what the little collab is.
So just be ready for that.
Yeah.
It's coming at you.
It is coming at you.
We'll also have all their information in the description of today's episode. So go check them out. And if you're in the area, go support your local art theater.
Hell yeah. And if doesn't just have to be that specific one, go support your own art theater.
Absolutely.
In your area.
I actually just bought tickets to go see a documentary about Palestine that was made by a coalition of Israeli and Palestinian filmmakers.
Wow.
That's playing at our art theater on March 1st.
Nice.
So if you're in the LA area, the Long Beach Art Theater is going to be playing that. I don't know how many seats are left. I literally saw it come up and immediately just was like going. And it's a movie that's nominated for an Oscar, but I think it's called No Other Land. Let me triple check. I want to make sure I have the right name. But it's nominated for an Oscar, but there's no distribution in the United States, so there's no way to watch it unless you see it at, No Other Land, unless you see it at a local art theater.
I love like local art theaters. They're just...
Oh, me too. Where else are you supposed to see Rocky Horror Picture Show
Literally.
at midnight on a Saturday?
Every single week.
With the most dedicated pack of folks you've ever seen in your life.
There's also a really cool local theater in Santa Ana that we saw.
The Frida.
Yeah, the Frida Theater that we saw the Newkirks at.
We saw The Conjuring there.
No,
The Conjuring.
What is it called? The Unbinding.
The Unbinding. I literally have the poster up in my room.
Yeah, The Unbinding.
The Unbinding, not The Conjuring.
Which we loved.
Amazing movie.
Incredible.
Amazing movie. Yeah.
So yeah, this is just like the perfect little collab for us, I feel like. Yeah.
And, there's a lot of things happening, a lot of censorship happening in the world today. And if there's one place where you can find the stuff that you're not going to see anywhere else, it is definitely your local art theater. So go check that out. And if you are in the New Jersey, tri-state area, go check out the Fort Lee, in Fort Lee, New Jersey, the Barrymore Film Center.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I was really excited when we got that email because I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
It's literally perfect. I mean, what do we talk about pretty much 99% of the time? If we're not talking about fast food,
we're talking about movies. Which, it's not a movie, but I did just finish the season 1 of Squid Games.
I don't know why I thought you had already watched it before.
No, I told you that I started it, but I couldn't keep up with the subtitles because they talk really fast. And in some movies and shows and stuff, it doesn't matter because like the context is in the action or there's not a ton of talking.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Parasite, I could follow along with the subtitles pretty well because it's not like a really dialogue-driven film, but there's a lot of context in Squid Games. And not only that, there's a lot of like scheming happening. So they're talking really fast. And I'm dyslexic, so I can't read the subtitles that fast. So I kept missing things and asking my fiance, what was that? Mm-hmm. What did he just say? And then he's like getting all annoyed, right?
I was going to say the most annoying thing someone could do.
Yeah. And then he's missing things because I'm asking, and it's,
Yeah.
And people were so rude and judgy about like the dubbed version, being like, oh, if you watched the dubbed version, you didn't even watch the show. Whatever. I watched the dubbed version and it was fan-fucking-tastic. I thought it was one of the most well-dubbed like pieces of work I've ever seen.
Wow.
I've seen a lot of dubbed stuff.
Nice.
The actors that they got to do the voiceovers were so good and fit the characters, like fit their faces so well. And the actors, like actual Korean actors, were so talented that I mean, you didn't even notice that the words weren't matching up like most of the time because the emotion was fitting so well together. It was just really good. So if you had the same problem as me with subtitles, you watch the dubbed version. It's fine.
Yeah, I think I was going to initially watch the dubbed version, and then people were kind of saying that, like, don't watch the dubbed version. Yeah. Like, you're going to regret it. So I just watched the subtitle one, and I was surprised that I was able to follow along with it.
Yeah.
The way
I mean, it's a great show. Really, like, the first two episodes are like, that's where I think I could have probably watched the subbed versions, like, once it got into the actual games.
But like meeting all the characters and
all the names and everything that was going on, like it was just a lot of like reading that my brain couldn't keep up with.
But damn, aren't the fucking actors so good?
Probably one of the finest casts I've ever seen.
Yeah, I know.
In my life.
I love that you were like, Cassidy texted in the group chat and she was like, okay, why did nobody tell me how hot this cast was? And
Every single character. I was like, there's no way they could get anyone hotter. And then like that cop shows up and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yep. And just wait till season 2 because there's a whole new slew of hotties.
And also it's like watching the Hunger Games because like everybody has to die, right? Mm-hmm. But still every single death. Like when
gets to you.
When my favorite character died, I literally was raging mad.
Who was your favorite character?
Because the way that he died too was so upset. I don't want to spoil.
Well, can you whisper it to me?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, that was so sad.
And the way that they died was so sad. Like, ugh.
How freaking hot was like that emo chick though?
Oh, I loved her.
Oh my God, she's so hot.
Yeah.
The girls in this show, like season 2 girls too, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I haven't started season 2 yet, but I will soon. But yeah.
So hot.
Not to just objectify them because they're all very talented people.
Super talented, but also super
very hot. Yeah.
Listen, multi-talented, hot and talented.
Yeah, they're triple threats.
Yeah.
They're talented, they're hot, and they're hot.
Exactly.
And talented.
That's what a triple threat is. You're double hot and you're talented.
I actually do think we need to get rid of the term triple threat because I'm tired of musicians trying to be actors and I'm tired of actors trying to be musicians. I think we should just cut that out. I'm tired of it. I don't want to hear about it.
What about musical theater? Because that's both.
Yeah, maybe that's why I'm like not that into musical theater. Actually, that's not true because I just watched Cabaret and loved it.
You know, I've never seen it.
But do you want to know why? Because it's like the performances aren't just like happening in scenes. They're on, like it's a musical because they're on stage performing a cabaret.
Yes.
Maybe you've heard of it.
You know Cabaret? They're performing Cabaret.
And also, just, I mean, the story is just so intriguing and dark. And
should I watch it?
Yes, you absolutely should. With Liza Minnelli.
Yes, Liza
in
Minnelli.
In her prime.
Yes. Come to the cabaret.
Yeah, you should absolutely watch it. Yeah. And I think it's a really, actually, right now in our current political climate, it is a very, very important film / show.
There's another musical that is also very with the times that I was in high school that I see a lot of people talking about online right now. You're in Town.
Oh yeah, my high school did that.
Yeah,
I was not a part of it, but I watched it.
Yeah, and so it's crazy because when I was, 16 and I was in that, I was like, this is stupid. What is this? Like, what does this even mean? Like, why are we talking about pee?
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh, I get it.
Amanda didn't understand metaphor until 25. It's a medical condition.
No, 100%. I'm going to be honest with you. Like I'm not here to lie to my audience. Okay.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I was like accidentally electrocuting myself and I didn't realize it for like weeks.
What?
I have like a subscription to a beauty box and they just like send you things. And I got sent like this like red light therapy like electro thing that you're supposed to use on your face, and it's just like stimulate muscles. Mm-hmm. And you know me, I don't read instructions.
Why would you?
At all.
You're dyslexic.
Yeah, that's just gibberish to me.
And remember, she lost her glasses a bunch.
I lose them all the time.
How is she supposed to read any instructions?
But remember we did that like night, whether you're a knight, a fairy, or whatever thing. And literally one of the questions was, do you read instructions before you try to put something together? No, I don't. And this is proof of it. So I get this little wand and it has a little thing on the top, a little round thing with like red lights, and it like vibrates kind of.
Sounds like a wand.
Yeah. And you're supposed to like put it on your face and it's just like stimulate muscles to like promote collagen growth. I don't know. It's something that I would never buy, which is the point of the box. It sends you things, like for me at least, it sends you things like, I would never splurge on this, but it's really cheap because I pay yearly for the box. And so
now that I have it, I'm going to use it.
Yeah. Now I'm like, oh, this is like a fun thing that I never would, a fun little treat that I never would buy for myself. Right. So I go to use it. I put on like a serum on my face. And I go to use it and it's like, whoa, this thing, it's got a little kick to it. It was like making my eye twitch. And like, I was like, wow, it's stimulating these muscles. Like, this is crazy.
Your whole face is like vibrating. And
yeah, like, and there was like parts where it like really hurt, like around my lips and stuff. I was like, oh, did she? Oh. I was like going like full Kramer, like, blah. And so I'm like doing this. I'm doing it for like a couple weeks. And I'm like, this is like really actually kind of crazy. Like, I wonder what this is like. I wonder how often, maybe I'm using it too much. So I like look up online how you're supposed to use this thing. Turns out you're supposed to use it on a completely dry face because otherwise the like electroshocks or whatever like conduct. And I had been using it with like lotion and oils and serums, and then I tried it on a dry face and I was like, oh, this is really, now it just feels like vibrating when you use it on a dry face.
It was like literally shocking your face.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
My God.
Yeah. So if I seem dumber, this was like 8 months ago. So if I seem dumber from them, that's why. I was electrode shocking myself.
Now it makes sense.
I was giving myself electroshock therapy for like a good couple weeks there in the summer of last year.
Wow.
And nobody noticed.
Nobody knew.
Yeah, I realized. Yeah, when I realized that was pretty crazy, and then I just had to keep it to myself because I was too embarrassed. But then I thought, now's as good of a time as ever.
You know what? You're almost a year past that moment in time.
I don't even know that chick.
That's in the past.
That was pre-brain damage from the electrocutions.
Yeah, so we're good.
She's barely even me. For real.
We are good. So you can tell the world now.
So good. You know I'm engaged. I'm a totally new lady. Engaged.
She is a fiance.
I'm a fiance. That was girlfriend Cassidy.
Okay.
This is fiance Cassidy.
That's right.
Yeah.
When you're a fiance, you're a different human.
Yeah. Now,
and then when you're a wife, you're another different human.
You're a totally different type of brain damage by then.
Exactly. So you're just going to be completely different this time next year, maybe.
Who knows what could happen to me this year? I could get hit by another car.
You could.
I could fall down some stairs. Almost fell down the stairs today. Really bad, actually.
Really? In your building?
Oh, yeah. I was at the top of those concrete stairs.
Oh, and those are so long.
Oh, so I would have just been tumbling and tumbling and tumbling.
Yeah, you would have hurt yourself.
I was at the very top. I'm very sore. I did like way too many squats yesterday. So I'm very sore. And I was at the very top. I was like about to step a foot down onto the first down one step. And somebody came in from the left. So I turned my head to see who it was. And then they like closed the door because they realized that they wanted to take the elevator, I'm assuming, because the elevator
or they saw you and they went
they were like, can't be alone with that brain damaged dummy, that electrocuted dummy. And I missed this first step because I was like mid step when I looked, and I'm sore, so I'm like my leg was weak, you know.
And like if you would have tumbled and fell into that stairwell, and like there's no way for me to get in there because I don't have a key to that door, so who knows how long you would have been there.
For real. And you would have been just calling me like, hi, I'm here to pick you up.
Yeah, and then I would have been like, oh, she fell asleep because you hadn't slept, so I knew you were tired, right? So I'm thinking you fell asleep and you're not answering me.
And meanwhile, I'm at the bottom of a staircase, looking like a SpongeBob character, leg all around. My leg! You know how he always says that?
Exactly.
That would have been me.
Well, what would we have done?
I don't know. It would have been a whole new Cassidy.
This is like when I almost choked on my bacon, egg, and cheese in my car. And I'm thinking, if I die right now, my dog's not going to give me the Heimlich maneuver.
No.
You know?
No, he
You
would
got to be
not.
really careful, guys.
He would have
when you're alone.
He would have waited for you to die and then tried to get in there to get the bacon, egg, and cheese out of your throat.
Oh, no, he for sure would have.
Yeah, because he would have smelled that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very food motivated.
He is. He would not have given
And it would have brought you back.
2 shits about me. He would just wanted that bacon, egg, and cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't chew your food too fast and don't fall downstairs when you're alone, guys.
That reminds me, I don't even know if this is true, but this is like a story. So like, I grew up like my family was very conservative, like Republican. So like loved George W. Bush, right?
Great.
W. Now watch me make this drive. He is unfortunately hilarious. Not on purpose. But I don't know if this is true or if it was just like right-wing like Republican propaganda. But I remember my parents telling me like George W. Bush is so smart and so strong. He was choking on a hot dog and he gave himself the Heimlich maneuver and he saved his own life.
Wow.
Now that I'm thinking of it, we were eating hot dogs really fast and my parents might have just made that up to be like, you're not George W. Bush. You could never Heimlich yourself.
You'll never be George W.
You'll never be W.
Yeah.
But can somebody tell me if George W. Bush was choking on a hot dog and he gave himself the Heimlich over the back of a chair?
I was going to say, was it over the back of a chair?
He like leaned over and like,
because that's like a thing, right?
Because he was like alone.
Yeah, people can do that.
And so he had to, allegedly, in this story I heard when I was 7, when I was eating a hot dog in the backyard or whatever.
And hot dogs are like,
that's a choking hazard.
Definitely choke on a hot dog.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost choke like 99% of the time when I'm eating.
You have like some sort of issue.
I don't know what it is.
Because you are constantly choking on your food.
I know. It's like really alarming, actually.
I've only almost choked once and it was in a restaurant and it was really embarrassing and I just had to pretend it wasn't happening. And so when I saw that I think you should leave sketch where he's like trying to drink the water and he can't drink the water and he's like, the water tastes bad. That was literally me. I was like, yeah, been there, sister. And it was because I took too big of a bite of steak.
Yeah. Oh, and steak will get you.
And I was getting so tired of chewing. I just couldn't chew anymore. I was like, I got to just get this down.
Do it. That's how you choke. If the chewing gets too much and then you're just like, I'm just going to swallow it and just hope for the best. And then you choke. That's what happens to me.
Yeah. I had to just kind of like do some like, some like Pilates.
And I'm sorry, but like, as you were like saying
what
you choked in a restaurant, like that might be one of the most like that would be so embarrassing to die.
I don't think anyone
from choking.
And the thing is, I would just die. I would not help. I didn't ask for help. I was literally panicking so bad and I was looking around.
Well, because when you're choking, you don't speak, right? You can't speak.
Yeah, because there's no air. That's the whole point. Yeah.
So what are you gonna do? You just gonna
you're supposed to
go.
There's the international sign for choking, which is a hand over a hand and then at your neck.
Mm-hmm.
That's the international sign for choking. Like if you need help if you're choking in public. So even if you're in a country where nobody speaks English, you can go and people will know you're choking. But no, instead I had my hands firmly clasped in my lap, just head nodding.
Just cool as a cucumber.
Head nodding like I was paying close attention to what those at the table were saying. Just
slowly dying,
trying to do like kind of a wiggle situation. Don't try this at home, by the way. It will not work for you. You will die. Trying to do a wiggle situation and just trying so hard to swallow as hard as I'm sure my eyes were just bloodshot red.
Well, what happened in the end?
I got it down, baby.
Oh, you got it down.
Oh, I got it down.
Because can you imagine you cough and it comes out of your mouth at the table?
Yeah.
Then you wish you would have died.
The problem with choking is that to save you from choking, they have to do the most embarrassing thing. Somebody has to hump you from behind until you throw up food like a baby, like you're getting burped like a baby. And then what are you supposed to do? Carry on with dinner?
No.
I would simply take my shoes off and walk. I would have to leave my shoes there.
Why?
I'm starting a new life. I don't get those shoes anymore. I would have to take my shoes off and walk away And they would be like, that was really weird.
I literally like
I would have to empty my bank account and pay somebody like Breaking Bad style to get a new passport.
Yeah, you need a whole new identity.
Yeah, like take me to Alaska, put me in the back of somebody's trunk. I need to get out of here fast.
Yeah, like if somebody had to give me the Heimlich maneuver in public, I would literally be like, you should have just let me die at this point. Because now I have to
dying
to leave.
Like this. Less embarrassing than getting the Heimlich, for sure.
The people on audio can't see what you
Sorry,
just did.
I just very quietly minded my business and died like an adult.
That's how adults die, guys.
They mind their business.
Okay.
And they silently pass away at dinner.
That's right.
And then
in the middle of a restaurant.
In the middle of probably one of the nicest restaurants I've ever been in my life.
And that's on being an adult.
And that's on being an adult and not knowing how to chew your food.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Great times.
You know what? But I made it. Here I am.
Here you are.
The wiggle method worked.
Just wiggle it out.
A lot of weird shoulder motions. I was like pretending to crack my neck and stuff.
And nobody at the dinner table was like, what are you doing?
No. Everybody was like really into the conversation. Sorry. I just watched this British lady make her 9-year-old kid food all day. She's like, this is what my very particular 9-year-old ate in a day. And then the kid's kind of
You have
picky.
a very particular 9-year-old?
She has a very particular 9-year-old, and this is what he ate in a day. And he ate the whole lot. Yeah, that's what you really want when she gives him something he likes. Like he likes pancakes with Nutella on them, and then she folds them, and he calls them pancake tacos. And then whenever she gives him those, she brings back the plate, and the plate's empty. She doesn't show the kid. You don't watch the kid.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
I don't watch content with kids.
No, when you were describing it, I was like, this doesn't seem like something you would
No, it's
watch.
literally just, I don't even know what she looks like. It's literally just the plate. She puts the
hands.
food on it,
Okay.
and then she slides the plate out, and then she slides it back in to show how much of it he ate.
Wow.
And it's exciting.
Okay.
You're like, how much did he eat today?
Yeah, you're like, what's he gonna eat today?
And then you want like, and he ate the whole lot. That's what she says when he clears the plate.
Does that mean it's good?
And it just means he was a good eater that day because he's very particular.
Yes.
So he is picky eater. Like he'll eat cucumber, but not with the seeds in the middle part. He doesn't like that part, just the skins. So she like has to use a little cookie cutter to and then puts them in his lunchbox.
He only likes the skins of the cucumber.
Yeah, like instead of he doesn't like the seeds part where it's mushy in the middle. So she cuts that out with a little tiny cookie cutter.
Wow.
And I love it. Have you never seen this?
I've definitely never seen that.
She also has a 26-month-old.
26-month-old.
Uh-huh. Listen, I have a lot of feelings about the month-old thing.
I think can't we just say the years at that point?
At that point, you're 2.
Yeah.
You're 2 and 2 months, okay?
Like if you're 6 months, I get it. But if you're 18 months, no. Sorry, no.
Apparently the reason people do that is, first of all, it makes them feel like their baby's younger than it is, and that makes them happy. But second of all is because you have like milestones you're supposed to hit up until like 2.5.
Okay.
So and the months actually do matter. Like you're trying to like there's a milestone at 18 months
for like walking and
talking or whatever, babbling or whatever the fuck
but 26
babies do.
months seems a little.
Yeah, I think we got to
that seems a little long.
Listen, if I was her publicist, I would say maybe switch to my very particular 2-year-old.
Yeah, like your toddler.
Also, why are you raising such particular kids?
That's what I was thinking the whole
kids
time.
Kids are a little too particular.
A little too particular.
But I do like to make sure he ate his pepperoni.
Pepperoni?
That's what they call pepperoni. I don't know why. I
was going to say, this is
3
working.
Chicken sattés, a bag of refrigerators.
Refrigerators?
Refrigerators. It's a British thing.
Okay.
It's like a bag of like chicken nuggets basically, but they're like little guys, and they call them refrigerators. Well, that's not how they say
you raid your fridge?
They call them refrigerators.
Because you raid your fridge for them?
Because you're raiding your fridge for them.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. I do want to eat those.
I do think that I could start calling pizza bagels that.
Refrigerators.
Because that is definitely something that
that's the brand is called refrigerators.
Oh, dang. I thought it was just like a cute little nickname.
No.
Darn.
No, they have like different flavored little like chicken bites basically.
Wow.
And they do look quite good. But I don't know if it's just her. She's mesmerizing, her little voice. I also watched this lady whose husband eats like a lot of food and she eats like no food.
Okay.
She goes, hello. Her voice is way higher. She goes, hello. Here's what me, and let me, she goes, watch me dish up my tea for me and my husband. My husband, someone who just likes food a whole lot, and me, who's on a weight loss journey. And then so she gives him this big old piled plate of food, and then she has like a bite of it. And I'm always like, girl, feed yourself.
Listen,
I don't know. I'm seeing
this content is working because it's got you.
It hooked me.
Yeah, so
I'm in.
Obviously they have someone watching.
They have a choke. They have thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of likes.
No, I don't doubt it.
Every video, everybody loves them.
I don't doubt it.
It's crazy town.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm not on that side of the For You page.
Well, it's fun because you get to watch what people are eating, but you don't have to watch them eat it.
Yeah, because that's the worst part.
Yeah, because I don't necessarily
like mukbang or whatever.
Sometimes I like the what I eat in a day, where they show it and they'll take like one bite of it, but usually the sound's turned off. They have like music or they're doing a voiceover. Like that's fine. But yeah, I don't like to watch the mukbangs where you can hear the noises. But that one's fun because you're like, ooh, look at what they ate. Sometimes I'm like, damn, that 9-year-old ate way more than me today. I deserve a snack.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like what the heck is going on here?
Maybe it reminds you to eat more.
That too, for sure.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, ooh, that sounds good. Maybe I'm craving that.
There you go.
And then you're like, I'm going to have orange chicken tonight. Well, how about we welcome some people to our new Patreon?
Our brand new Patreon.
Totally normal, average Patreon.
Totally the same Patreon
that we've had for 3 years. Welcome to Sarah N.
Hi, Sarah.
Thank you for joining. We really appreciate you. But actually, this week we had more people who bought us some beers.
I wonder why.
And Grace bought us some beers and said, congrats on the engagement. My husband also proposed to me in my house while I'm in my sweatpants, so I can relate so hard. Use this money to start a honeymoon fund. Make sure to have an attached room for Amanda.
Thank you.
Or whatever y'all need. Much love from me and my furry and scaly friends in PA, Grace.
I actually got a lot of DMs from people saying like, oh, my husband proposed to me in our kitchen and like stuff like, because
yeah,
that's just so cute.
I was actually really thinking about it because somebody was like, oh, did you ever have like an expectation of how you'd be proposed to? And like, I've told you for years, I never thought anyone would ever propose to me. Like I like very firmly believed like, oh yeah, I would get married, but why would anyone ever propose to me? Like,
I remember you always saying, you would say, I can't even picture what someone proposing to me would look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like really trying to think about it. And I realized like literally the only 2 ways I'd ever want to be proposed to is in my house where I'm comfortable, like basically exactly what happened to me, or at a sports game because I love sports.
There you go.
And I think that's literally it. So he nailed it.
Perfect.
Nail, hammer, head.
Oh, yep.
And then Sam C bought us some beers and said, Cassidy, I'm so happy for you. My fiance and I are getting married March 15th in Vegas.
Ooh.
After being engaged for 2 years. Oh, you have to let me know where you're getting married at because I want to get married in Vegas. We decided a few months ago that weddings are expensive and we'll just go to Vegas where it's a little cheaper. You guys got to do what's right for you. I'm so happy for you and I can't wait to listen to the wedding planning. Okay, like for real, let me know where you're getting married in Vegas.
Yeah, we'll see you there.
March 15th? Yes, say no more.
See you there.
I will be at the pie-gow table. Meet me after the ceremony. And I also wanted to say thank you to Sophie, who bought us some beers and said, popping the bubbly for Cassidy's engagement and Amanda starting therapy. Oh. You're both my favorite parasocial relationship. Don't let the bastards get you down. Love, a therapist.
Thank you, Sophie.
That was really nice. Thank you, Sophie. And yeah, don't let the bastards get you down.
We won't.
I haven't yet. Why would I start now?
That's right.
That's all I gotta say.
I'll throw up on the bastards.
Would you like me to?
We can.
Sure. It's so easy.
Allegedly, it's very easy.
Just make me cough really hard, sneeze really hard, laugh too hard. Like she'll pee, I'll throw up. It's going to be great.
So many fluids.
Together, we're working together to create a biohazard environment like you've never seen before.
And you don't want to.
And you really don't want to.
No,
you don't. You don't. So like I said, we have a little bit of a theme this week to our episode, and that is all thanks again to our friend Michaela from the Barrymore Film Center. And our theme is true stories that became movies.
That's right. We're taking it to Hollywood.
We're taking it to Hollywood.
Okay.
And like I said before, if you're interested in checking out the Barrymore Film Center, you will find their Twitter account and their Instagram account and their website down in the info on this episode. And that is just barrymorefilmcenter.org. It is, once again, a 50c3 nonprofit organization. So this is just for the love of the game, guys.
That's right.
But yeah, so me and Amanda both picked stories that are all about the inspo for some recent films. We both picked recent ones.
We did pick recent ones, yes.
So how about we get into that?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, so the movie that I picked today and the story behind it is the story of Hustlers. Which is a movie that came out not that long ago. And it is the story of Rosie Keough and Samantha Barbash.
AKA J-Lo.
Yes. Allegedly.
Allegedly J-Lo.
Just wait.
Oh, I can't wait.
Okay, so my sources today were for the most part, an article in The Cut, which was for New York Magazine by Jessica Pressler. This article is basically what broke the whole story of all of this, and it's also what the movie was based on. Was like this article is the basis of the movie plot.
Okay.
Like Jessica Pressler is literally a character in the movie.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
She also is the one who wrote the like Anna Delvey story. She does all those like long read expose kind of New York drama.
She's a heavy hitter.
Very heavy hitter. All right. So I also used historyversushollywood.com, an article by Kevin Lang, and an article in Rolling Stone by John Bleestein. This story is about greed, lust, strippers, sex workers, Wall Street, and most of all, a bunch of fucking liars.
Okay, give it to me.
So the last fact is the most important thing, because when I say liars, I mean it, right? We have only a few perspectives on this story, and each and every single person is either convicted of fraud, conspiracy, or assault.
Okay.
Yeah. And I will be using the word dancer and stripper. That is the terminology that is used by these women. And they worked at a strip club. So I don't know what you want me to tell you here. So the main point of view that we have from all of this that went down is from Rosalind Keough, or Rosie. She's the main interviewee for the Jessica Pressler article. So we're going to call her Rosie because that's what she goes by. And Rosie is the daughter of Cambodian immigrants who left her and her younger brother to live with their elderly grandparents when she was young, like 9-10 years old. So when she was in her teens in high school, she started working at a restaurant to make extra money because, once again, she's living with elderly grandparents. They're not exactly raking in the cash, and they live in New York. And as she's working at this restaurant, it's right next to a strip club. And by the time that she's 17, she actually ends up dropping out of high school and becomes a dancer at the club.
Okay.
This is around 2002. And anybody who remembers the early 2000s, and this is mentioned pretty specifically in the article, rap culture and strip club culture were like very enmeshed, right? So it's really hard to imagine any iconic rap song music video that didn't either take place partially in a strip club or have dancers on poles stripping in the music video with people throwing money. That was like a big part of the culture at the time. So because it was such a part of mainstream culture, it made these clubs packed because it kind of took the stigma away, right? They had like celebrities coming in, and they had athletes and all these people who maybe had a more like wholesome look or wholesome reputation about them. They were like, oh, haha, it's just like a fun, silly, goofy thing to do, right? Yeah. So this meant that strip clubs were coming out of these like seedy corners where like creepy dudes would show up in trench coats, right? That idea, and going very mainstream. Men would go there for business meetings, for happy hour after work. They would bring their clients there to talk about things and loosen them up.
That is so wild to me that people would do that.
Well, it makes me, I mean, I'm sure it still happens today, I'm sure, but it makes me think of, we just recently last year I rewatched Desperate Housewives, and remember Carlos would take his people to the strip club sometimes, and we'll talk about that.
Crazy to me.
It's very much like an earlier 2000s phenomenon. Now I feel like that is much less common. Like even most of my friends now, sex positivity and feminism moves in like different waves.
Yes.
Because there was like also this culture where men would say like it's not cheating if it's a strip club, right? And then so every woman was like, it's fine if my fiance or my boyfriend my husband goes to a strip club, because then I don't want to be like I want to be the cool wife or whatever.
Right, yeah.
And like now that has shifted again, where women are like, wait, actually I'm allowed to be like, no, I actually don't think it's cool for you to pay for a naked woman to grind on you. Like if you want to do that, you can't be with me. Maybe there are women, I'm sure there are plenty. I actually know some that wouldn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But like there's a lot of women who do set that boundary. So it kind of goes back and forth. I mean, you know how it works.
Yeah, no,
in
absolutely.
Waves. Yeah.
Couldn't be me, but if it's you, more
yeah.
power to
Oh my
you.
gosh. Like, yeah, because I'm like someone who I'm like, just because you spent money on it, to me it's still cheating, right? But then there's other people who see it as a business transaction. So like it's just how your brain works and what is right for your relationship. But there was definitely a time where like, and I remember this time very vividly, being a young woman during this time of like, oh, if you're anti-strip club, you either hate women or you're a stick in the mud or whatever, right? There's like a lot of negative.
Or you're trying to be controlling to your husband.
You're jealous, you're this, you're that, whatever. But so strip clubs are booming. They are doing incredibly well. And Rosie takes off at the Lace strip club and then ends up working her way up to a nicer strip club. And this is around 2006, 2007, depending on who you ask. The years are a little fuzzy. And Rosie meets Samantha Barbash. At this point, Rosie's in her early 20s and Samantha is past 30. And Rosie claims that Samantha was stripping at the Hustler Club that they worked at.
Sorry, where is this located?
In New York.
New York, okay.
In like New York City. Samantha claims that she was never a stripper and only ever worked as a hostess at various strip establishments.
Okay.
But there seems to be a lot of evidence that that's not necessarily true. This is obviously, once again, everybody we're talking to are liars. So whenever there's...
It's hard to get the truth.
Whenever there's conflicting information, I'm like, really? You could convince me in either direction?
Yeah.
But Rosie said that Samantha actually took her under her wing and kind of showed her the ropes. And this is like a bigger, nicer club. She also showed her how working with other women could actually boost tips and sales because it makes a man feel extra special or a little like he should be tipping more. And now he's tipping double. It's like less competitive and more cooperative.
Yeah, like we're working
women
together to get that money.
And how that actually works because it makes a man feel special. But another thing that Samantha taught Rosie is that these dudes who come to strip clubs are gross, especially the ones who frequent. And just because they're a regular doesn't mean that they will not say or ask you to do the nastiest stuff ever and that you need to just ignore them. So they would say like crazy, crazy shit to these women like, oh, you must just only do this because your dad molested you, right? And like stuff like that. Like meanwhile, you're there like, if you think that that's why they're there, like you're there taking advantage of that.
Yeah,
like,
why are you, what?
If you think that, and like meanwhile, that's like not even what happened. So, and then.
Yeah, like, okay, bro, if that's what you think, why are you here?
Yeah, why are you here taking advantage of that situation? Like you suck, you're creepy. And like, once again, that's why I was saying like, they were said, things like this were said to them, like, what's wrong with you that you're here? And it's like, well, what's wrong with you that you're here?
Yeah,
right?
literally.
Like, if you're going to judge me, why am I not judging you? You're the one spending money. I'm just here taking your money.
Yeah, I'm the one that's working and making the money.
I'm at my job. Why are you here? But Rosie was very firm in her line of not doing anything other than dancing. So she refused to do any sort of extra sexual stuff, even though she was asked quite often. Rule was no funny business.
Good.
She had a boyfriend, actually. And ironically, her dancing at the club made her more suspicious of him than he was of her, because she felt like she was seeing the worst of men. And most of the men that came in had wedding rings on and would like talk about how they had kids. And one time she asked a guy, oh, I'm sure your wife loves that you're here. Or does your wife know that you're here? And he said, I sure hope she doesn't know where I am. Like stuff like that. So she was like, oh, she got more suspicious of her boyfriend than he was of her being the actual dancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I know what guys are capable of.
Yeah. And like just lying and cheating. And like, even if you're married, have kids, it doesn't matter. Like they could be here with me, a 21-year-old girl, paying and asking me if my dad molested me, and then also wanting to take advantage of that and asking me to like put a champagne bottle up their butt and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So Rosie saw in Samantha someone that she did not want to be. So Samantha was clearly a lifer. She'd been there a long time, being over 30, which is something they referenced a couple times in that article. The lifespan is very short in the industry. So Rosie was like, okay, I need to like put to work to try and find a better job. And Jessica had also like talked about like, oh, I wanted to do this. I wanted to have this job. I'm going to start my own bikini company. I'm going to do this. But really all that happened was she would just end up back at working at the club. To directly quote Rosie in Jessica Pressler's article in The Cut, she said, quote, the reason why Wall Street guys party so hard is because they are not happy with their jobs. You make money, but you're not happy. So you go out, you splurge on strip clubs and drinking and drugs. Then the money depletes and you have to make it again. The dancers are the same way. You make money, then you're depressed, so you end up going shopping or going on vacation, and the money depletes, so you go back to work.
Damn.
Seeing a way potentially out of this, when Rosie became pregnant, she decided to stop dancing and try to live a quieter life with her on and off again boyfriend.
Okay.
She had during her days as a dancer had been taking classes at a local college. She really wanted to get her degree in psychology and do something with that. But after 2 years of being basically financially dependent on somebody else, and they were kind of on the rocks and off the rocks all over the place all the time, she really didn't want to be with her boyfriend anymore. And she decided to go back to dancing to make money for her and her now infant daughter.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because she didn't have really any other way to make money where she would be financially viable in New York.
Is the guy not going to help pay child support?
I don't know. He kind of just...
He bops.
Floated off in the story.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know. We'll talk about that later. So when Rosie goes back to the club... This is after 2008. So the economy has crashed. Mm-hmm. The 2008 crash had completely wiped out a lot of their regular clientele. The Wall Street guys aren't coming anymore. The guys doing business meetings aren't coming to the strip club anymore. And not only that, Rosie also said that a lot of girls out of desperation were now performing sex acts on clients and for very cheap. So why would they spend $100, $150 on a dance or a couple dances from her when they could literally get a blowjob from a younger, and as she said, more like very hot girl for $300? And because, like I said, she had like a firm line in the sand of like she wasn't going to break the law. She really wanted to be like just a dancer. This kind of left her out in the cold. But Rosie did notice that one person was still very busy. And not only busy, she was the only one bringing people into the VIP champagne rooms, which is where you make your big money, right? Because that's where the high rollers go to like drop hella cash.
That's not where they go to like do sexual things though, right?
Oh, that too. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But no, that's like where you go. Like it's like a private room. It's like renting out like a private situation. So she sees that Samantha, who didn't seem to be dancing anymore, was surrounded by beautiful young women, and they were in that champagne room more often than not. Like basically every weekend, multiple men in and out, and Rosie wanted in on it.
And Samantha was the one that claimed that she was just a hostess.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So Rosie starts back up her friendship with Samantha and finds out exactly what they are doing to stay so busy. And Samantha called it marketing, quote unquote.
Okay.
I'm doing my air quotes here.
What are we marketing?
So the setup was basically Samantha had been working in strip clubs for so long. She had a very long list of cell phone numbers. It's something that Rosie in the article called a make money list. So basically like the people you would text or call if like the club was slow, but now the club's always slow. So she would hit up these ex-clients and send a photo of one of the younger girls and be like, hey, come meet me at a bar, like not at the club. Come meet me at a bar. Let's get a couple drinks. Like, you're so cute. I remember you from the club. And a lot of these people didn't even realize, like, they didn't even put two and two together of who Samantha was versus a different dancer versus whoever, right? So she would, like, send pictures of the younger looking girls. And then that girl would go meet him at the bar. They would have a few drinks. And then she would be like, oh, hey, is it cool if, like, some of my friends stop by? And then, like, these three other hot chicks would walk in. And this guy's, like, buzzing off his butt, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's so excited. They're all taking shots. Sometimes they're doing a little bit of, and then of course all these hot young girls look at each other and they go, oh my gosh, do you know what we should do? We should go to the strip club.
Oh, we are scheming and scamming.
And this guy will go, yeah, of course. Are you joking?
Yeah, I'm gonna go wherever you guys want to go.
And also all these hot young girls want to take me to go look at strippers. Like,
that's
yeah,
the dream.
That's what I want to do. Absolutely. And then as soon as they would get there, they would have him swipe his card and they would just run his tab up like crazy with drinks, with tips, with everything, right? And like when I say crazy, I mean crazy, like tens of thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
Damn.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming they would get like a different guy every night.
Yes, but there were people who were return clients.
Okay.
So this just
they're just dumb.
At first, this just seems like a solid hustle, right? But eventually you run out of like your regulars to text. And Rosie did say that she tried to tell people, and once again, I don't know if she actually ever said this, but to say like, hey, maybe we should only take like 10 grand at a time instead of like 60 grand.
Oh my God.
Because then they might come back and then we can get like 10 grand 4 weekends in a row instead of like 60 grand once, right?
That makes sense.
But then they would just be like, no, we're just going to run it for as much as we can until the card declines.
That's so, oh God. Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Also, that's crazy that just people have that kind of money
to
throw around.
So eventually they would run out of people to text. And so they would just send girls out to different bars. Actually, one of their favorite bars was there was a TGI Fridays down in Wall Street where like a lot of Wall Street guys would go after work because it was just right there. Mm-hmm. And they would look for guys with expensive shoes, watches, clothes, and especially wedding rings. They wanted married men, like specifically.
Thank God I married poor.
And if like nobody was coming up to them, they would like send them shots like over to a group of rich looking guys because eventually one would come over.
Yeah, of course.
And Rosie said of like this kind of fishing technique that my biggest advantage over the other girls is I don't look like a stripper. She said, gesturing to her Lululemon Suburban Mom ensemble she was wearing. I look like any girl who could be getting off of work, relaxing after a long day by having a glass of wine.
At TGI Fridays.
Yes. So that was also a big thing. Like having like the dancer look was a negative thing with some of these more high profile guys.
You wanted to be unassuming.
You wanted to be unassuming because there is a look. Like, for example, Rosie claimed that Samantha never really sent pictures of herself because at this point she had a lot of work done. Even when she was originally working like in her 30s, she had fake lips, fake boobs, injections, work done, right? And so that was usually a little less enticing than, say, some of these younger girls who looked more natural, especially for like these high class Wall Street guys. So I'll show you some pictures right now so that's Samantha.
Of the real people.
Yeah, so that's Samantha.
Oh, okay, yes.
This is Rosie.
Okay.
Rosie's
very natural looking.
Karina, who was one of the girls that she would send pictures of.
Okay.
Who was pretty young. Oh, and then that's the author of the article, Jessica Pressler.
I was like, Julia Stiles? I know her.
Well, that's who played her, and that this is who played everyone in the movie.
Oh, Lily Reinhart was in that?
Yes,
oh,
she played
her.
Karina.
Okay.
But yeah, so that was like a big part of it was they would kind of use these like more innocent looking girls that didn't have exactly like the look, which I'm not saying, you know, everyone looks, but there is a look. There's a little bit of a look to the industry, right? A little more enhancement, more dramatic plastic surgery or filler and things like that, especially back then.
Yeah.
Where now it's a little more common to have more filler and things like that. And so they kind of would make you think, oh, this girl doesn't work as a dancer, right? Yeah. So once again, the big line that Rosie or Samantha would never cross for themselves was doing actual sex acts. But they had no problem having other people do this. So they would hire sex workers from Backpage or Craigslist to come and take it further if that's something that they felt like the guys were interested in.
Wow. Okay.
And that seemed to make it even easier to run up the tab to $50,000. And in the article for The Cut, Rosie says it's really easy to get somebody's security question answers, their mother's maiden name, the last four of their social security card, all that stuff if they have a sex worker hanging off of their junk, basically.
Of course.
And she said she never had an issue walking over and being like, hey, what's the last four of your social? Sorry, we're just trying to confirm for your credit card company. Because the credit card companies would call and be like,
what's going on?
What's going on? And they'd be like, oh, it's a strip club.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, well, you have to confirm this, this, and this. And she would just walk over and ask them.
I can't believe that these guys would return and not be like, whoa, you charged me $60,000.
Well, so a lot of them would not return. And they would call and be like, what the heck happened? Like, what is going on? And we'll get to some more info about that in a minute.
I feel like you can just like embarrass them though. That they like, well, I can't tell my wife.
Samantha would always take the call and be like, well, you're the one who was having so much fun, like with that girl who was on your, and you know, you wanted to tip everyone. And I don't know, I guess I'd be happy to testify in court in front of your wife.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they don't want to worry about the disputed charges. They'll figure it out somehow else, right? But basically, they had a deal with the clubs that like, hey, if we bring a guy in here and he drops $50K, we get to keep, and they never said the exact amount, but like we get to keep 40% of the tab. So that's why they were like, yeah, buy any drink you want, buy whatever. And the clubs were so empty and struggling so much, they were just happy to have the business and make it look busy in there. Originally, like, or usually, I don't know if this is how it is again now, but at the time, or before the financial crash, if you wanted to work at a strip club, you would work on the stage for free. You got your tips, and then you would have to tip out the bar staff. You would have to tip out the bouncer, and then you'd also have to pay out the club for letting you perform, and then you got to keep the rest.
Oh.
So it wasn't like you were like getting paid to be there.
Yeah.
And so...
because that's what I would have assumed.
No. So like it's
you get
literally...
an hourly...
Nope. It's literally... only your tips, what you get tipped out, and then you literally had to pay the club like, thanks for letting me work here, basically. So I don't know if it's back to that.
Kind of like when you are like a hairdresser and you have to pay for your chair.
Yes,
at
kind
the
of.
salon.
Yeah. And so, but at this point, they were so desperate for clients, they were like, okay, we'll give, I don't know the exact numbers, she didn't say, but like, it was a good amount. Let's say it's 40%, right? So they make $50K in a night off of some guy. Okay, well, we're going to get 20,000 of that, and then me and Samantha, Rosie and Samantha, we're gonna get 7,000 each, and then split up the rest amongst the girls or whatever.
Yeah.
Rosie and Samantha would pay themselves the most because they're at the top of this. Rosie described herself as the CFO and as Samantha as the CEO. They also called each other like Shaq and Kobe or something like that because they were like, we're the two like biggest ballers out here.
Okay, they're hustlers.
Yeah. But unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you ask, greed makes you fucking stupid.
Yes.
And the girls started getting more aggressive. This is the question of the hour. Samantha had started drugging men's cocktails to get them to come into the club with MDMA.
Oh, shit.
And so we don't know if they drugged everybody that came in. We don't know if they started drugging people when they started having a harder time getting clients in. We just don't know, right? Because there's hazy history. But we do know that they did drug people.
Yeah, that's where it gets a little
yes, that's where it goes from, oh, you're being a tricky little trickster, to like, oh, you're like kind of evil. Yeah, because like this guy thinks he's meeting up with like a cute girl at a bar, and then suddenly next thing he knows is his bank account is wiped out and he's at a strip club and he's not even a strip club guy, right? Like, yeah. They would put a pinch of MDMA in their cocktails to either make them come to the club with them or to stay at the club or give them access to their card information. That's when, for me, like, it's all a little gross and icky, but that to me is where the line got like very crossed.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't drug people.
No. Because here's the thing. If you are using your sexuality to entrance men into spending exorbitant amounts of cash and you're taking advantage of them, like, okay, like this is a transactional situation. He knows what you're in it for. You know what he's in it for. At that point, if he spends too much because he thinks that the dancer is actually in love with him, what a fucking idiot. But if he's drugged, that's literally not fair at all.
Yeah, no.
Not fair. And there, like I said, there were people who would call in and be like, I don't remember what happened. Why is my card maxed out? Or like, what, like, why is my bank account drawn out? Like, whatever. And they'd be like, you were having so much fun. Like, what are you talking about?
But he was drugged.
Yeah. And so like, that's not fair. Yeah. And so at this point, they're bringing in like $100,000 a weekend.
Wow.
But Rosie was starting to hate it. So she loved the nice cars and all the money and the clothes. And like, when I tell you they were like bawling out, they were like bawling out. Like she had like multiple like luxury vehicles. They were buying Louboutins. They were buying like crazy expensive purses and outfits and hotels and living in expensive apartments. Like just crazy. Like they had so much money. And then one night that stood out to her was she met up with a guy at a bar. Actually, I'm not sure if he was like at the strip club bar or at like a bar. It seemed like he might have been at the strip club bar, but so she's talking to this guy.
Rosie
is.
Okay.
And they have what she called a real heart to heart because this guy had a kid and his kid had autism and his wife had just left him because the wife couldn't deal with the autistic kid. And so she's talking to this guy and she's talking about how she's a single mother and how it's really hard. And they end up drugging him and maxing out his credit card and emptying his Chase banking account only for $17,000. And Rosie said $17,000 was nothing to them, but it ruined his life. So he keeps calling and calling and calling, being like, how did this happen? Where was I last night? In his own statement to police, he says he kind of remembers being in a room and maybe there was like a square table and there was people around, but like he clearly was drugged.
Yeah.
And they were having a hard time kind of keeping their operation together because a lot of the other dancers got kind of like icked out by this situation and didn't want to be a part of it. And a lot of the sex workers that they had been hiring were unreliable because they just went where the money was. And so they couldn't keep like a constant stable of girls like they did originally, or women. So Rosie really wanted to leave, but once again, to quote her directly, she said, I would say to myself, okay, I'm going to make $100,000 and then leave. Then I would make $100,000. Then I would make another $100,000. Okay, then I'm going to make $500,000 and then I'll leave. No, now I want to make $1 million and leave. It was just never enough.
I feel like once you get accustomed to making that kind of money and having a certain lifestyle, like how do you turn away from that?
Well, and it kind of goes back to her quote at the beginning where it's like, you're depressed, you hate what you're doing. So you spend all this money on things you think are going to make you happy. They don't make you happy, but you need to keep that dopamine hit. So you have to go back and do the thing that's making you so unhappy to make more money to do the thing that you think is making you happy. Like, it's just a horrible, vicious cycle.
I don't make remotely as much as that, but I do that with just the small amount
absolutely
of money I make.
It's like pretty common for people to like constantly move the goalpost for themselves. Like,
yeah.
Okay, once I have $25,000 saved up, I'll be happy. And then you have $25,000 and you're like, well, no, actually this isn't enough. I actually need to work more because I should have $50,000. And it's like, I get it. I think that's like a little bit of that is good, but for the most part, it's not good because if you're just spending more and not like, and then you need to make more just because you're spending more, like at that point, like it's nothing is ever going to be enough. And if you're miserable, literally nothing will ever be enough. I can tell you that, because like I had a job that made me fucking miserable, and I made way 10,000 times more money than I make now, and I am so much happier. And I also shop way less, and I do a bunch of just like destructive things with money way less, and drink less, go out less, because I'm just happy as a person, which helps. This guy goes to the police and he's like, I was drugged by a bunch of strippers. What do I do? And of course, this is not a super uncommon thing to be told to the police, but they usually assume, oh, you fucking loser. Like, you went to the club, you got drunk, and you spent way too much, and now you're going to try and act like you got fleeced. Yeah. And he's going, no. I have proof I was drugged. And he plays them a recording of him calling into the club and talking to an unknown whistleblower and saying, I just want to know what happened to me. I don't remember anything. Like, I'm going insane. I can't pay my mortgage. I can't pay for my kids' therapy. What do I do? I have no money. And the woman goes, okay, yes, we did give you drugs. And so he plays that for the police.
Wait. Was it Rosie who said that?
No.
Oh.
It was an unknown informant.
Oh, yeah, you said that. Okay.
So the local police and DEA do get involved at this point. But it doesn't necessarily, like, make it happen right away, right? So one of the girls does admit that they had drugged him. He turns it over to the cops, but none of the other potential victims want to be outed as the guy who got fleeced at the strip club, right? So they're like trying to talk to other patrons, they're trying to talk to other people, and it didn't help that there was one guy, his name was Dr. Ziad Yonan. It got leaked to the local news with his claim that one of the clubs had fleeced him for $135,000.
And he was a doctor.
And that was his third time being there. So when that happened, the club literally just responded with, quote, if he was drugged the first time, I guess he liked it. Ugh. Yeah. It's like very icky. And this is what I mean, where I was like, oh, this is like so icky and gross. Like, it turns out it's like a haha funny hustle to like creepy guys who go to strip clubs to like, oh, they're like actively like drugging and attacking men.
Yeah,
and
it's not great.
For the record, I haven't seen this movie, so I don't know like the tone, but I hope it's not just like comical like it is in the previews. The previews make it seem like it's a girl boss movie.
So I told you earlier, I watched like half of it with my mom, and then we turned it off because it was very, very bad. It did give, if I remember correctly, because it was a couple years ago, it did give kind of like a girl boss vibe.
Ugh, okay. I'm going to have to watch it. I didn't want to watch it. I didn't want to cover a movie that I had seen recently. So that's why I picked this movie, because I've never seen it. Because I don't like to accidentally mix reality and fiction, like from what I saw in the movie versus what really happened. So I'm going to watch it eventually. But I was like, oh, based on like the commercials I saw of this movie, it seemed very girl boss, and that's actually is really fucked up.
From what I remember, that's how they make it seem. But once again, this is Hollywood. They do that. Yeah. They do that often.
Yeah. Well, and also you didn't make it to the end, so maybe it's like,
I did not make it to the end.
Yeah.
Because I could not. It was very bad.
So obviously there's like a lot of victim shaming and stuff happening here. And like, I don't know, it's just fucked up, basically. Really like when I was reading it at first, I was like, oh, whatever. There's guys who go to strip clubs and you're just kind of making them spend more. Isn't that the whole point of a strip club? Like, you know it. Like that's what they're there for, is to convince you to give them more money. That's the whole point, right? Like you know what you're walking into, but no, you don't. If you're getting drugged and they're taking your credit card and running it up and talking to your credit card company on the phone, like that's just straight up fraud,
that's literally wild.
So finally, after months of surveillance and proof, they had scammed. They had 4 separate men who had been scammed for over $200,000 come forward. And on June 9th, Rosie, Samantha, and 2 other women were arrested for fraud, assault, and like illegal drugging of a person.
Damn.
One of the men who was willing to testify was that father of the autistic child that I talked about earlier.
Yeah, that's like, ugh. And you were talking to him, and you were having a heart to heart.
Well, are you ready for this?
Yeah, tell me.
The credit card that they ran up for like 10 grand was his company card. So he got fired from his job. And they emptied his Chase bank account, so he couldn't pay his mortgage. He went to go get another.
And he's a single father.
He went to go get another job, and he's like a well-educated, good guy. So he gets this other job. And then when they run the background check on him, that credit check comes up from that 10 grand. He gets fired again. And so he had to start working as a part-time consultant. So he didn't even have full-time job, which means he didn't have like health insurance and stuff for his son, or for his, I don't know if it was a son or daughter, for his child. Basically, his life was in shambles and he was alone with his kid.
That makes me so sad.
Yeah. I guess Rosie said to Samantha, like, we fucked up. We shouldn't have done that. Like, we were mostly taking advantage of like rich scumbags, like Robin Hood style, but we fucked up. We got too greedy and we got too weird and we fucked up. And Samantha basically said, if we didn't do it to him, somebody else would have.
Ew.
Yeah.
How do you know that?
Yeah, right? So Samantha and Rosie stand by that their victims deserve it. To quote Samantha about the doctor who lost $128,000, she said, quote, he's a scumbag like the rest of them. These guys are all over these girls. They get fucked up. They know what the hell they're doing.
Not when you're drugging them, they don't.
Yeah.
That changes the game.
Once again, the drugging is like, whatever, take advantage of, not take advantage, but like, play it up. Say you love them. Act like
you're saying when the guys willingly come in to the strip club and they have their wedding rings on and they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing. Yes, play it up. But when you are actively going out, seeking out these people at bars and drugging them, I'm sorry, no.
Yeah, no, literally like that you took away their complete consent because you don't even know if they would have walked into that establishment.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
No.
Like even going out to random bars and just picking up men and bringing them back is like a little morally questionable. Like to me, I'm like, I don't think it's good, but it's not illegal. But the drugging, I'm sorry. Nope, no fucking way.
Yeah, you've taken it way too far.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, the women do end up pleading guilty and no one gets any jail time.
What?
Only parole. And they're allowed to keep all of the money.
And what happens to these men? They, like that man, that single father, he literally just like lost everything and couldn't get a real job.
And probably embarrassed himself in front of people to go to court and they actually didn't go to court because they took a plea deal, but was willing to embarrass himself in front of court just for 5 years of parole, and they got to keep all of the money.
That is actually crazy.
At the end of the interview, Rosie did say that she totally made up the story. None of it was true because she wanted to rebrand herself.
Made up what story?
The story that she told the reporter about everything. She claims that. And Samantha is trying to, or was trying to, I don't know. I couldn't find like how it actually ended up turning out because obviously it's been a few years. I think this movie came out in like 2018. Samantha is suing the filmmakers, J-Lo, and the production company because, and I think maybe the lady who wrote the article, because they never bought the rights to her life and they told her story.
Is that a thing? I thought, do you have to do that?
Well, legally, I think because they changed her name in the movie. So like in the movie, her name is Ramona, not Samantha. And same with Rosie. I mean, they changed Rosie's name to Destiny. They changed Karina's name to Annabelle. And they changed Jessica's name to Elizabeth. So they literally changed everybody's names, which I think kind of covers their asses.
Yeah. Because it's like based on a true story.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like I feel like that changes things.
Yeah.
Now.
But I don't know. Like when I was reading the article about Rosie, she lives in like a nice house in the suburbs with her kid who she doesn't work. She goes to...
Yeah, she has a bunch of fucking money.
Goes to pick her kid up at the school, like I said, dressed in Lululemon. So yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy and kind of infuriating.
Yeah, well, that's why I was confused. So when I started doing this story, I was like, oh, I want to pick like this like haha, like girl boss screwing over the men who treat us like crap type of story. But then I was in too deep when I realized like, oh no.
Yeah, like they're actually
terrible
evil.
Human beings. Yeah, like this is actually like a horrible story of assault and like
that's
abuse. And it just shows you like that men are so forgotten as victims, especially when it comes to sexual crimes, because, oh my gosh, like they're literally getting drugged with MDMA without like not even knowing it, and then plied with more alcohol. And then they have sex workers coming in and doing sex acts on them. Like, how is that not sexual assault?
That's true. And they're literally drugged.
Yeah, they're like, literally drugged. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's one thing if you willingly take the drugs and everybody's drinking and doing drugs and like, you know, you're a willing participant and then maybe you do something that you regret because you got too drunk. That's like that's one thing. But like unwillingly drugged and yeah, it's
that's
gross.
so gross and so upsetting.
Yeah.
And like you literally ruined not only this single father's life, but probably multiple other men that didn't deserve it. I'm going to go out on the limb and say.
Yeah. Well, it seemed, I mean, it seemed
like I have no idea, but.
And I feel like this is the problem with like that type of scenario and the terrifying part of being like an over-sexualized woman is you're getting treated like an object by men so often that you begin to believe that all men think of you as an object. Yes. And so it makes you think of men as objects. Yeah. And so all it does is just create even more of a divide between women or femme presenting people, non-binary people. You know, it's just, I don't know, like it's too bad because,
And it's like, you know, we always want to be like, oh, well, this guy was being gross and he has a wife and kids and he's trying to cheat on his wife. Like, you deserve it. But they cross that line where it's like, oh, I can't even.
You took their agency away from them.
Like I can't. Yeah. I cannot support
can't
you
even hate,
at all. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the true story behind Hustlers.
Damn.
And apparently Rosie is trying to become an inspirational speaker. So maybe see her at a high school near you.
Oh, no. No. I'm going to say no to that, Rosie.
No. Yeah.
No.
But yeah, so that's the story behind Hustlers.
Yeah, didn't see that go in that direction.
Yeah, me either. When I started writing it, I was like, oh, this is like a girl boss movie. Like,
once again, about didn't finish the movie.
Yeah, well, I was like, oh, this is just like a classic scammer movie. And like, I'm usually pro scammer. And then I read the drugging part and the sexual part. And I was like, oh, no.
Yep,
these men are victims.
Yeah.
They're just victims straight up.
They are.
And because they're all fucking liars, you can't even determine who's a victim and who was just like kind of scammed. Like, because once you drug one person, why do we not just believe you drugged everybody? You know?
Fuck.
So, yeah.
Well, thanks for that. I probably am not going to finish the movie, but you should watch it.
I think I'm going to. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me know how it is.
I will.
Okay. So for my movie, this was one that I have seen, but I was definitely able to figure out the differences and what was truth and what was fiction from the movie to the real story.
Okay.
So my movie is Iron Claw.
Oh my God. One of the saddest fucking movies of last year.
Very sad. It came out in 2023.
Oh, it's 2023.
Yeah. It feels like last year.
I feel like, did it come out near the end of 2023?
It must have. Let's see.
I just remember being really upset it wasn't nominated for anything.
Zac Efron.
Dude, everybody in that movie. Heartbreaking. Spoiler alert. It's heartbreaking.
December 22nd, 2023. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. If you guys are watching Traitors on Peacock right now, and you saw Bob the drag queen, who I love, by the way, say that Zac Efron is not a very good actor to his brother Dylan. Yeah. I know you guys all felt the same way as me. I know you did.
Oh.
Okay.
She was livid about this.
I was livid. Yeah. I said, how can I support Bob the drag queen now? Who one of my favorite drag queens.
I know. You just have to remember that it's a show about it's a show about being a traitor.
Yeah, but you don't talk bad about Zac Efron. I'm sorry.
He's America's sweetheart.
He actually is, though. He actually is. He really is. So
who's the female America's sweetheart? Actress.
Ooh,
I know you want to say
question.
Sabrina Carpenter, but no.
I do love her.
I knew you were immediately going to think her.
I
do think she's America's sweetheart when it comes to like pop stars.
Pop stars right now, apparently. Yes. Yes, I agree. Okay, actress, America's sweetheart.
Because like 10 years ago, it was Jennifer Lawrence.
Yes. And I was going to say 10 years before that, Anne Hathaway.
Yes.
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Right?
Who is it right now?
I'm trying
Margot
to think.
Robbie?
No. When's the last time she was even in anything that
Barbie.
You watched? Oh, Barbie. She had a minute.
She had a moment,
I would say.
Oh, I really don't know. That's a really good question.
Thank you. Yeah, because I wouldn't say Zac Efron is currently America's sweetheart, but he had been.
And also when like the whole stuff came out about his jaw, like people were really getting behind him.
And then he had that show on Netflix or whatever,
Down to Earth, which is what his brother Dylan is from. That's why he's on Traitors.
Yeah, I feel like that reignited everyone's love for him.
Everyone loves. I'm sorry if you don't love Zac Efron. Like I don't know, just I can't help you.
He does seem like an unproblematic fave.
He's a king. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who our current America's sweetheart is. Maybe Jenna Ortega.
Yes. Because I feel like Jenna Ortega is the actress version of Sabrina Carpenter right now.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like they go hand in hand.
And she's like cute. She's talented. Mm-hmm. She's got kind of like a
I would say that's a good one.
Sprightly personality.
Yeah.
But she's obviously very good at acting.
She's very talented.
Yeah.
And she's been an actress since she was like a little child.
Yeah. Yeah, that feels
right.
I think Jenna Ortega.
Okay, that feels right for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I'm glad we came to that conclusion.
I was trying to think. I'm like, who's an actress I've seen in a lot of stuff, and I'm not like, oh my god, her again.
No, we like her.
Because you know how that happens sometimes, where you're like, we get it. Stop shoving her down my throat. But I'm excited with she's
stands up for things that she believes in.
Yes, that's why we love her and Melissa Barrera.
She literally says, I'm not going to be in Scream.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, we like you.
Because fuck the new Scream movie.
I know, and it looks so good.
It's fine. I'm going to see it. I'm just going to watch it like this. Arr.
Arr. We understand what you did. Anyway, so Iron Claw. So the Iron Claw movie is obviously about the Von Erich family, and the kind of thing behind this, which is why I wanted to cover it, was because they call it the Von Erich family curse.
And it does seem like a curse.
It does seem like a curse a little bit, and we'll get there. So my sources were an article in Vulture magazine by Sid Hant Adlaka, the Sportster.com by Sean Von Horn and Benjamin Vieira, biography.com by Tyler Picotti, WCCWmemories.com, and just a fuck ton of Wikipedia.
Yeah.
So much Wikipedia. Okay, so the 2023 movie, Iron Claw, follows the Von Erich family, like I said, and their wrestling careers. But we're going to really focus right now on the patriarch of the family, which was Fritz Von Erich. So if you don't know, Von Erich is not their actual last name. Fritz is actually Jack Barton Adkisson. He was born in Texas in 1929, and he started out by playing football in college. That's kind of how his athletic career began.
So that's the way you get beefy, usually.
He was beefy.
Yeah.
And football and wrestlers, I feel like they kind of have like the same build, but
wrestlers
is just
for
smaller.
I was just
shorter,
about to say,
right?
Wrestling is for people who wanted to play football but were too short.
A little too short.
Or maybe not fast enough.
Like they have like the same build, like body wise, but wrestlers are shorter, I think.
Yeah. A little more chody.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So it was reported that in 1952, Jack briefly played for the old Dallas Texans NFL team. But apparently that is actually not true at all. He was signed as a guard to play for that team, but was immediately cut before he ever played.
Yeah.
So he never actually played in the NFL.
They love a tall tale.
Yeah. And like a lot of people report it to be fact, and it is just not fact. However, he did move to Canada and he played in the CFL, the Canadian Football League. So he did play professionally in some capacity.
I have a friend who currently plays, or not friend, but somebody I was friends with in high school that currently plays in the CFL.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Tyler Johnstone.
Dope.
Shout out, brother.
Shout out.
He also briefly played in the NFL, but
oh, really?
Yeah.
Listen, Canadians are super nice and awesome.
Oh,
so
Canada. I've been practicing just in case.
Listen, we might move there soon. Who knows?
Just in case I need to flee in the night. I've been practicing.
Never know, truly. So I imagine that Jack Adkisson, it's so hard to say their last name because it's not Adkinson, it's Adkisson. Adkisson,
yeah. Oh, it's the worst when a name is so close to a name you're used to saying, so you would just want to say that.
So it's like really hard to say it.
Yeah.
But I imagine he was really scrambling at this point to try to figure out like what he was going to do with his life, because he wanted to be in the NFL. It wasn't necessarily working out for him. He also, in college, he got an ankle injury so he stopped playing football for like a minute, and then he became a firefighter for like a brief second before he went to Canada and started football up again.
Got it. Okay.
And the reason he kind of went to Canada to start football again was because his wife that he had married when they were really young was pregnant. And now there's a baby on the way.
So he's like, I got to make some real money real fast.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So while he's in Canada playing football, he meets this guy named Stu Hart, who was a professional wrestler in Canada. And Stu tells Jack, like, I can train you in wrestling. And Jack's like, yeah, fuck football. Like, I'm obviously not good enough to play in the NFL. Like, that's pretty obvious. So let's wrestle. And Jack is a big man. And this quickly seemed to be like a better fit for him than football ever was. So Jack is now beginning his wrestling career. And he's doing really well, kind of like off the bat. And on September 21st, 1952, Jack and Doris welcome their first son, Jack Jr., into the world. And the birth of his son really started to motivate him to further his career, become a professional wrestler, and really make some good money for his family. So in the movie Iron Claw, they don't really go into the actual origins of why Jack Sr. was referred to as Fritz von Erich and why the family went by the von Erichs instead of the Adkissens. But I think that was because they didn't want to bring up the topic of Nazis.
Yeah.
If I had to guess.
Okay. Yeah.
So when Jack Jr. burst onto the wrestling scene, he was given like this new persona and character to play in the ring because, as we know...
Yeah, because it wasn't like Olympic wrestling. It was like WWE style.
Yeah. And as we know in wrestling, they typically are playing a character. They're not necessarily playing themselves. I actually have a friend that is currently a wrestler and trying to break out.
Can I go to a match?
Do you want to go?
Dude,
she always tries to invite me.
I'm obsessed with that.
Oh my God, let's go.
I love wrestling matches.
She's getting me a t-shirt with her face on it.
I literally, like, I love the WWE. I grew up watching it.
Oh my God, let's do it. So her persona is Milo Matters, I think her name is. And she just like plays this, this.
Is she a heel or is she a villain? Is she a hero? What are we working with here?
I actually don't know. That's a really good question. I'm not.
Sounds like we got to go to a match.
But she always invites me to the shows and I always want to go and I never go.
Oh, I'm down.
So let's fucking go.
Yeah, I'll go to one.
Okay, great. It'll be so fun.
I love shit like that.
I feel like she plays a villain sometimes, but I think it changes.
Okay, yeah. Oh, if it's a smaller production, probably. Yeah. Okay.
Check her out. Milo Matters. So Jack was paired up with a Canadian professional wrestler named Walter Paul Sieber, and they were paired up to play these characters who were brothers, Fitz and Waldo von Erich. And these characters were supposed to be villains in the wrestling community, and they were also supposed to be Nazis, pretty much, basically.
Yeah. Checks out.
Which apparently was a really big thing back then with wrestling, where they were like, a lot of people were playing like Nazi characters.
Dude, it was a big thing with everything.
Was it?
Indiana Jones? Who did he fight?
Oh, yeah.
The fucking Nazis is who he's fighting, literally. That's why it's so crazy
I just rewatched those movies last year.
That's why it's so crazy to me that everybody's like,
Isn't Hitler in
it's
Indiana
fine.
Jones? Or am I thinking of a different movie?
I don't know if Hitler himself is in them. I can't remember.
Or like a caricature.
Yeah, but they have like real ass Nazis. Like they're wearing the fucking Nazi flags and shit. That's why it's so crazy to me. Like all these people who enjoyed these movies. I'm like, Captain America used to be like punching Nazis good. And now you guys are like, actually, he was giving his heart out to people. Shut up. Punch Nazis. In my opinion, allegedly.
Yeah,
this is a comedy podcast.
Exactly. Yeah, this is comedy, guys.
But you could probably punch a couple Nazis.
We won't stop you.
I'm not going to say anything.
I'll tell you that much. So Fritz was known as the German Giant from Munich, Germany. And him and Waldo would come out and, people booed because they were supposed to be these villains and they were pretending to be Nazis.
Because the Nazis are the bad guys.
Correct. They are. That is true. But Jack/Fritz, he didn't think this was going to be a big deal because he's like, well, I'm not a Nazi. This is just a character I'm playing.
Okay.
But fans don't see things that way. They obviously, like, when you're even in TV scripted TV shows, right? Like, people will still do this to this day where they're like, you're your character, and and they see the actor outside and they're like booing them or whatever, and they're like, I'm just playing a character. That is just me on a scripted TV show. This is not scripted. So imagine how these people were reacting to them outside, like booing them, giving them a lot of hate.
Thinking they picked their own persona. And it's like, no, we just that this is who we made to be the most evil villain so we can get our asses kicked every week.
Exactly. And Jack is like, I'm just trying to provide for my family. So this is what was going to get me the most money. And this is what I was doing. Sorry.
I'm not doing it because I love Nazis.
Yeah. So in his personal life, Jack and Doris, they were actually growing their family while Jack is, becoming this hotshot wrestler. And they welcomed their second baby boy, Kevin, on May 15th, 1957. Their third son, David, on July 22nd, 1958. And at this point, the family, they're moving around a lot for Fritz's career. He obviously had to do a lot of shows in different places to make money. And still to this day, as I know from my friend who's a wrestler, she has to travel a lot for shows. Like she has to get on a plane on a random day and go to Pennsylvania for a show. Like that's just how wrestling works.
Totally, yeah. You go where people pay.
Yeah. So in 1959, the family is living in a trailer park in Niagara Falls. I think it was a trailer that he would like drive around like the country. I'm not totally sure though.
Okay, so it wasn't like a permanent trailer park.
Yeah,
it was
I'm
like
not
one
100%
of the, it was like
sure.
More one of the camping type ones.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
And Jack Jr., the oldest son, he's 7 years old. And he's walking around outside one day, like outside around the trailer park. And in a freak accident, he steps on a trailer tongue, which is the part of the trailer that sticks out and attaches to like a towing vehicle.
Yeah.
And when he steps on it, he gets electrocuted. He falls forward into a puddle of melted snow and ends up drowning. Like, what a freak situation.
No, yeah, absolutely.
So the death of Jack Jr. was obviously incredibly hard on the whole family, but Fritz in particular, it just really like made him spiral.
Yeah, and they didn't even bring this one up in the movie.
They don't talk about it in the movie. So I guess in the movie, Kevin, the second oldest, who's played by Zac Efron, he mentions that he had a brother that died.
Yes, they mention it, but they don't show like the story.
They don't tell the story at all. No. And even like later on in the movie too, I think Jack Sr. and Doris are talking and they say like, well, that tragedy that happened, like they allude to it.
Yeah, they don't like try to act like it didn't happen, but they don't include the storyline or however. That feels like a weird way to put it, but they don't include that like the scene.
Exactly.
I guess,
which probably for the best, I would say. So this really, like I said, caused Fritz to spiral. He started to take his aggression and anger out on people in the ring. And he pretty much blamed wrestling for his son's death because he figured like if I was around more and I wasn't traveling and I wasn't out wrestling all the time.
If we had a normal house.
Yeah, this wouldn't have happened. I would have been home. I would have been able to watch him closer. Which totally understandable and so sad. So Fritz is getting more and more aggressive in the ring. And it got to a point where all the other wrestlers that were getting paired up with him would cancel the fights and be like, he's way too much. Like, he's too aggressive. Like, I actually don't want to fight him because now he's really hurting me.
Yeah, it's supposed to be fake. Hello.
Yeah. Well, essentially, I mean, there's obviously elements to it that are not fake, I guess. I don't really know how it works.
I mean, it's very athletic. I'm not whatever, but like.
But everything's mostly planned out for the most part.
Yeah.
And he was hurting people.
Yeah. Like they're doing stunts.
Yeah. So because no one wants to wrestle him, he ends up taking a break from wrestling to just kind of like chill and be with his family for a while. On February 3rd, 1960, a year after Jack Jr. died, Carrie, the fourth son, is born. And then on March 2nd, 1964, Mike, the fifth son, is born. So now they have four sons.
They're really cranking them out.
There's so many kids. There's so many kids, yeah. So now they have four sons total at this point. And this is also where these four people, Kevin, David, Carrie, and Mike, are the only ones portrayed in the movie.
Yes.
But there is another son.
Yes.
That we will talk about. In 1966, Fritz decides he's going to get back into wrestling to support his family again because obviously it's a growing.
Yeah.
And that costs a lot of money. So he teams up with this famous promoter named Ed McLemore, and he kind of learns like the ins and outs of being a promoter and being able to focus on that side of the industry instead of being in front of the camera. So during this time, he also changes his persona and he stops doing the Nazi bit.
He's like, I don't think I want to be a Nazi anymore.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? I'm thinking the Nazi bit is not working.
Yeah.
And I did read in one article that his kids were being like harassed at school too.
Yeah, I
being
just
like,
feel
your
like,
dad's a Nazi.
well,
And they're
'cause
like, no.
there's a way to be like a lovable villain.
Yeah.
There really is. You know, tons of people love The Undertaker and, you know, a lot of those classic wrestling villains.
Yeah, not a Nazi though.
But Nazi, hard to love. Well,
Hard sell.
you would think. No comment any further on that.
Hard sell for us.
Hard sell for anyone with a moral conscience.
So people quickly jump on board with this like new persona, new character he kind of starts putting out, which is, it's just called Babyface. That's what it said. And they forget the Nazi thing ever happened. Good for him.
What a rebrand.
Yeah. And while he's continuing his wrestling career during this time, he goes to Japan for like a small period of time to do some shows and like tour and stuff. And that's where he learns his signature move, the Iron Claw, which the Iron Claw is basically when Fritz would grip the top of the opponent's head with one hand and squeeze his fingers into the opponent's skull on either side of their eyes until they had enough and gave up. Because,
Ooh.
yeah.
You could do that so good with those nails. Just a little,
I could. I'm not strong enough,
like
though.
that.
Yeah, like that.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
My hands are not big enough.
You couldn't even fit your hand around my head.
You've got creepy little witch fingers, and I've got creepy little doll. Oh, yeah. Ooh.
I just iron clawed you.
If you were real strong, I could see that.
I know I'm not strong enough.
I could see it. Meanwhile, you have creepy witch fingers, and I have like Chucky doll hands. I can't even reach. Do you feel clawed? It doesn't even look.
Feels like a baby's clawing.
It didn't even look
That's not called the
intimidating.
iron claw. That's called the baby claw.
That's the baby claw.
Yeah.
And she's got the witchy claw.
Unfortunately, I don't think you're going to hurt anybody with that.
I do think it's funny that we have opposing hands.
I have the biggest hands ever, and you have ew, 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 ew. You guys. I know if you can't see this on YouTube right now, we are putting our hands, ew. Oh my God.
Wait,
we are putting our hands.
The nails are making it so much
We're putting
worse.
our hands up together, and my hands are so much bigger than Cassidy's. It is like scary.
How have we never done this before? Are we lined up? Oh, we're lined up.
This is sickening.
Your palm is even way bigger than mine.
Why is my hand so much bigger than your hand?
Because I've got baby hands.
Oh my God.
I've got baby hands, little chub, little fingers.
This is actually scary.
That's a little upsetting.
That's really who's it more upsetting for, me or you? I think me. Because my hands are huge.
Yeah, but you have long, slender fingers. That's kind of sexy.
I don't know. I feel really bad now.
That was crazy.
That was crazy.
Wow. I can't believe we've never done that before.
I don't
We've
know.
been friends for 15 years.
And we've held hands before.
All the time.
Yeah.
Literally constantly.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. Okay. What a turn of events.
Yeah, that really, wow.
Whew.
That did something to me.
Thank you to the Von Trapps.
Von Erichs. Not The Sound of Music.
Never seen that, actually.
Oh my God. Okay.
She's like, I know what we're doing tonight.
You won't like it, but it's fine. Speaking of Nazis. Anyway, so Jack Sr., Fritz, he's continuing his wrestling career, goes to Japan, learns the Iron Claw. We already talked about that. Okay,
Yes.
great. Sorry, I forgot
Done
because
and
we did
done.
all the hands.
Sorry,
stuff.
you were clawing
That was
me.
just
I
like
was clawing
that
you.
was a lot happening right
You
there.
realize that my hands are way more freakishly baby than you thought. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So in 1969, Ed McLemore, who was the guy who was like the professional promoter that taught Fritz everything he knows.
Yes.
He dies. And
R.I.P.
Fritz is able to take ownership of all like the promotional business stuff that they had been doing together.
Oh, okay. So he kind of like just took his place.
Yeah,
'cause somebody needed to do it.
Exactly. So he kind of takes over.
Okay.
Also in 1969, Chris Barton Adkisson, Fritz and Doris's sixth son, was born. And Chris is known as the quote unquote lost son or missing son because he is not portrayed in the film.
Yes.
They only talk about having 5 sons, including Jack Jr. They never mention the 6th. They did have 6. And apparently they did that for time in the movie.
Well, I was hoping it was because he just didn't want to be a part of it.
No, it was because of time.
Does he die as well?
We'll get there.
Okay. That's not a good sign.
No. So as the boys grew up, Fritz, who was now the president of the National Wrestling Alliance, the NWA, he really...
Sorry.
What? Is that weird?
It's also NWA.
What is that?
The band or not?
Something really bad.
The rap.
Something bad that I shouldn't say.
It's not bad. I mean, I can't say it. You don't know NWA?
I do now that you're saying
And with
it.
attitude. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
it's a rap group.
Well, this was also that. Different things. So the National Wrestling Alliance, I'll just say that.
You can say NWA. I'd never put two and two together on that one.
And Fritz really started to do his thing where he was pushing his sons into becoming wrestlers because he was getting older. It was time for him to kind of retire, and they needed to step up and continue on in the Von Erich name.
Well, and I mean, if you have like a skill, I suppose.
Yeah, and they all had the proper stature to be a wrestler. So I am not going to deep dive into each individual son and their lives because there's so much.
We'd be here for 6 hours.
We will literally be here all day long, and we don't have that kind of time. So I'm going to give you guys like a small rundown of each son, just really quick. Kevin Von Erich, he was known as the Golden Warrior, and he was known for doing the Iron Claw in his career. He kind of took that over from his father. He married his wife Pamela in August of 1980, and they had 4 children together. David Von Erich, he was known as the Yellow Rose of Texas. He really actually followed in his father's footsteps from a young age. He played football all throughout high school and college, and then he dropped out to pursue a wrestling career. He married a woman named Candy McLeod in 1978, and they had a daughter together, but unfortunately, the daughter died in infancy.
God damn.
And that ultimately ended their marriage.
Yeah.
He remarried a woman in 1982 named Patricia Matter. Kerry Von Erich, the 4th son, he was known as the modern-day warrior and the Texas Tornado. He was actually the most well-known Von Erich brother in the wrestling community. Like, one would say he's probably the most famous one. Mm-hmm. He married a woman named Catherine Murray in 1983, and they had 2 daughters together. Mike Von Erich, he was known as the inspirational warrior. He actually did not want to be a wrestler. That was not really his goal in life. He actually enjoyed being behind the camera. He really wanted to work as a cameraman in the wrestling industry. He didn't have the kind of drive like his brothers did to perform. And he married a woman named Shawnee Garza in 1985, but they unfortunately got divorced that same year. Mm. And then Chris Adkisson, he was the shortest and the smallest of the boys. He had very brittle bones that were prone to breaking very easily. But unlike Mike, he did love wrestling.
Oh, and isn't that so sad?
I know. And he really, really wanted to become a wrestler and live up to the Von Erich family name in that community. Like, that was like something he just aspired to do.
Yeah.
So in the movie, obviously, Chris, like I said, is not mentioned. But they kind of merged. You watched the movie, right?
Yes, I did. Absolutely loved it. Go watch it if you haven't seen it.
It is really good. I liked it too.
You will cry.
Yes, you will.
Zac Efron, you deserved every Oscar.
Zac Efron, you know how I feel about you.
America's sweetheart.
I know. So they kind of merged Mike and Chris, like the 2 youngest boys, into the same character of Mike in the movie. Like, he literally has the same traits of both boys. Mm-hmm. The oldest 3 boys, Kevin, David, and Kerry, they just start taking the wrestling world by storm. Everyone loves them. They become very famous very quickly. And they have this golden boy image that they're portraying. Like, this is like the golden boy family. They would usually wrestle separately, but sometimes together as a duo or a trio, depending on who they're going against. So a lot of the people that write about this story, and I think in the movie, it even came across this way, that Jack Sr. or Fritz was pressing the boys to follow in his footsteps. Like that was like a big thing. Like I think they portrayed Jack to be kind of like a hard ass asshole in the movie, if I remember correctly. But Kevin did say in an interview in 1988, and I quote, "Dad never ever said we had to wrestle or that we even ought to, but we all knew what was going to happen in the end. It was inevitable. We were going to go into wrestling because we wanted to be just like our dad." End quote.
Ugh. Okay. Yeah.
So it's just kind of like they loved him so much. Like, I don't know if it was that he was pressuring them. I think they just wanted to be like him.
Well, I mean, and also I get it. Like, it's not like your dad worked in finance and you're like,
yeah, your dad did something sick.
Yeah, your dad did something cool and like had fans and stuff.
Yeah. Like, why wouldn't you want to be like your dad? Your dad's cool.
Like, if you had a kid, would you be surprised if they were like, oh, I want to have a podcast?
I'd be like, go for it.
Yeah, have fun. You have to wait till you're 18 though, bitch.
Yeah, yeah. If you're gonna curse,
you're not gonna be a fucking child influencer.
No, I don't think so.
Any of that weird shit.
No. Mm-hmm. So like I said, I personally don't feel like Jack Sr. pressured the boys as much as they put pressure on themselves to follow in their father's footsteps because they loved him so much and wanted to be like him and like live up to this Von Erich family name. Like that to them, I think they put the pressure on themselves, in my opinion.
It also could be a combination.
It could be.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
I mean, parents do be doing that.
Yeah. I mean, like a stage mom.
Yeah, and he's promoting fights, so who would he rather promote?
No, absolutely.
His own kids.
Absolutely.
Not even saying it in a negative way. I'm just saying, like, I'm sure he was like, yeah, do it. Like, if they said they wanted to do it.
I mean, even like, I just feel like I felt like in the movie they were kind of portraying him like to be an asshole.
Yeah, like he forced them.
Yeah, like that's how it felt at least. So once they started wrestling, that pressure to continue and then the public pressure on top of that, I feel like really led to the tragic events that take place.
Yeah.
So David, the third son, he was married twice and he was the one that had his baby die as an infant. In 1984, he was on a wrestling tour in Japan and he collapsed and died in his hotel room at 25 years old. It was reported that he died of acute enteritis, which is an infection or rupture of the intestines. However, a lot of people do speculate that he died of a drug overdose, and that is reported very often, but the Von Erich family has always insisted that that was not the case.
Yeah.
So we don't truly know. Mike Von Erich, the youngest one in the movie, but second youngest in real life. Like I said, he never wanted to be a wrestler, but he kind of ended up doing it anyway to like make his family proud. I think he kind of felt like he needed to. He was in Israel on a wrestling tour where he suffered a shoulder injury and he ended up getting surgery for his shoulder. And after the surgery, he was diagnosed with toxic shock syndrome and then suffered from brain damage because of this. I think this also played a part in why his marriage was so short with his wife. Like I said, they got married and divorced in 1985.
Yeah.
And this is also the same year that the surgery happened.
Okay.
So like all of this was happening at once. So I feel like that's probably what ended the marriage as well.
Yeah. Well, and also sometimes a lot of times when you suffer brain damage of any kind, it can change your whole personality.
I think it did.
Which that's like so scary to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just from kind of everything else that happens to Mike, that's kind of how it seems like it did. In 1986, he got into a car accident. While he was behind the wheel, he kind of just like lost control of the car. And that ended up giving him more head injuries.
Yeah.
So he was just really going through it. And when David died, the family and Jack Sr. kind of like not forced him, but I think they just like, I think he thought that they were making him take David's spot in the wrestling family. Like, you're going to be the new David.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Like you have to fill in. You have to do the doubles with your brother. You have to do all this stuff. Yeah.
And once again, he's the only brother that didn't want to do this. He did not want to be a wrestler. And
now he's got brain injury from
injuries. And it just kind of seemed like Mike couldn't handle the pressure of everything. And now he's being thrust into this role of being the new David. And it was just too much for him. So in April of 1987, Mike got a DUI and he was arrested for the possession of marijuana. And 4 days later, he left a suicide note for his family. He went out to Louisville Lake drank a bunch of alcohol, and overdosed on sleeping pills. Chris Von Erich, the quote-unquote missing brother, as people refer to him, he did want to become a wrestler, and he did want to follow in his family's path. He literally loved it. But unfortunately, he was very small. He was not built like the rest of his brothers were. So he spent a lot of time behind the camera, which ironically is what Mike wanted to do. And then Mike was pushed into performing. And it was literally the opposite for Chris. Chris was kind of forced to be behind the camera, and he wanted to be wrestling, which I think is why they merged the two like that together in the movie. Yeah. So Chris did get into the ring a few times, like when he was younger, and he even wrestled alongside Carrie, like as a duo at one point. And in 1990, he finally became a full-on wrestler.
Hell yeah.
But he did have a lot of health issues. Like I said, he had brittle bones, and he also had severe asthma, which obviously is a problem when you're wrestling.
To be a professional athlete.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do. And this made him really depressed because he just knew he could never live up to his brothers and his dad in the community. And then after Mike died, Chris became even more depressed, and he began kind of going through some drug issues of his own. On September 12th, 1991, Chris was found dead by his brother Kevin and his mother Doris outside on their family farm. He had shot himself in the head. And unfortunately, to make things even more tragic, earlier that night, Kevin said that he had saw Chris sitting on the hill outside on the farm. So he goes over and he talks to him, and Chris tells Kevin, I'm having suicidal thoughts. And Kevin starts to talk him down. He's like, don't think that way. Like, I'm here for you. And Kevin said that before he left that conversation, Chris assured him that he would not harm himself. And then once Kevin left, Chris shot himself.
Yeah.
Just tragedy after tragedy.
Yes, seriously.
And it doesn't stop. So in 1986, right after the death of David, so we're backtracking a little bit, Carrie, he got into a motorcycle accident that resulted in his right foot being amputated. He did continue to wrestle on it with a prosthetic, which he hid from the public. Like, no one had any idea that he was wrestling on a prosthetic.
Crazy.
Literally crazy.
Like, yes,
and he was winning. He was winning matches with this prosthetic.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
But after the amputation, this is obviously like he's a professional wrestler. So to get your foot amputated is a huge deal. Carrie becomes addicted to painkillers. Then he starts dealing with 3 of his brothers being dead.
Yes.
So this clearly starts to take a toll on him. Nobody should experience this kind of level of tragedy, in my opinion. And to top it all off, losing his foot, being in the industry he's in doesn't help anything. So he's addicted to painkillers. His brothers die, and he starts to kind of like do more different kinds of drugs. He gets arrested quite a few times, and this is what ultimately ended his marriage with Catherine in 1992. And once again, things do not get better for this family. Doris and Jack Sr. end up getting divorced in 1992 as well. On February 18th, 1993, right after his 33rd birthday, Carrie took his own life with a gunshot to the heart on his father's ranch. His last words were, "Dad, I love you."
3. Oh, that's so horrid.
I know. This I liked
I sobbed during this entire movie, so
I liked the movie, but I just feel like I don't know. I guess you can't, I don't know. It's so hard because the real story is so tragic, and they did portray it in the movie, but I just didn't feel like it was, I don't know.
Well, real life is always just so much worse.
So much worse. I guess that's a good way to put it.
I would love for you to rewatch the movie.
I should rewatch it.
Researching the real, because that's the thing. I already knew about this story before I watched the movie, so I filled in the blanks in my head. I think we actually had this conversation.
We did, because I remember saying to you,
where you were like, the pacing was kind of weird for me. I felt like I was missing parts of the story, And I was like, really? I didn't feel that way. But like, I can see what you're talking about it. But like, I already know this story. I knew this story. So I'm interested on how you would think of the movie after.
I should watch it again, huh?
Like researching the real story. I would, yeah, you should watch it.
Yeah. Because I did like it.
Yeah. Because I mean, the acting is. Yeah. I mean, it's some of the best acting you'll see.
No, I agree. Like, I did like it.
Yeah. And like, I know that's like that's really one of your biggest things. The acting is
absolutely.
good.
And the acting is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So if you thought that was the end of the tragedy, it was not. Jack Sr. ended up dying of brain and lung cancer on September 10th, 1997. So Kevin Von Erich is still, to this day, the only remaining Von Erich brother left. He did say in an interview, or a couple interviews actually, that there was a point in his life after like all of his brothers, the people he loved the most in this world, all died, that he contemplated ending his own life. And it got to a point where he walked into a store to purchase a gun. Like, he got that close. And this is literally coming from his own words. He said he walked into the store to purchase a gun. A fan saw him and told him how much they loved him. And that stopped him. And I just like... He realized like he had so much more to live for, and it just makes me so sad that his brothers couldn't see that too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, whew. So Kevin and Pam are still together. They have 4 children, and their children had children. His 2 sons, Ross and Marshall, are actually wrestlers.
Oh, I love that.
And one of Carrie's daughters, Lacey Von Erich, she's also a famous wrestler.
Oh,
yeah.
Good.
I know. Whew, okay.
No, I get it. I mean, listen, I come from a really big family. And so like the idea of imagining becoming an only child.
When you have 5 siblings?
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
Yeah. Because I mean, like I have, if we're counting step siblings, I've got a lot. I've got 7. And I just can't imagine the grief of every single one of those at such a young age. Can you imagine the mother,
how the mother felt like?
Well, and at such a young age too, like obviously we all come into this life like knowing everyone we know is going to either die before us or we're going to die first, right? Yeah. And so, but just like the idea of like, I don't know, being so young and having to experience that, like, because yeah, you're told like, your grandparents are going to die when you're young, right? Mm-hmm. Your parents are going to die when you're middle-aged. Your siblings are going to die when you're getting around dying, right? Yeah. And so like just experiencing all of that like in the wrong order is so fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in 2015, the Von Erich family, they were inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and Kevin was obviously there to accept this. Doris Atkinson, the mother, she actually died that same year on October 23rd. So obviously, clearly, very sad, tragic story of this family. And a lot of people, like I said in the very beginning, they tell this story like it's the Von Erich family curse. And from what I read, I don't know if you know anything different, but they kind of put the curse itself on the fact that Fritz started his wrestling career as a Nazi.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
And because of that, because he did the Nazi thing, that's why the tragedy happened to the family. That's kind of what I was reading.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion, I think that it was simply just the pressure that people and society, and still to this day, put on famous people and people in the limelight, and
generational, I'm sure, mental illness,
mental illness, and living up to legacies. And there's just, I mean, getting addicted to drugs. Like, there's just so many things. But yeah, I don't know. It's very tragic. It's very sad. It's very crazy and wild that Kevin's the only one that was able to make it.
Oh my God, at the end of the movie when he says, I was a brother once.
Oh my God, I know. Like, how? And now you're an only child. Oh my God.
I was a brother once. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I just feel really bad for Kevin. I feel really bad that Doris had to witness all of her fucking children dying.
Yeah.
You know?
That I'm sure she would say she was glad for the time that she had with them.
Yeah.
That's the hard part when people die before you would wish that they did, is remembering at least you got to be a part of the part that you were a part of.
Yeah. It's just, and they were like all just like, I mean, especially Carrie, from what I read, like he was super famous. Like he was going to be, you know, just huge in the community. Yeah, just really sad. And that's Ironclaw.
If you haven't seen the movie, definitely go see it. Or rent it or whatever. It is really something. Once again, I can't believe it wasn't nominated for like a million awards.
I do think knowing, because like they obviously do show you a lot in the movie, I think, but they leave out a lot. And I think knowing what happened.
Well, there's just so much. There's such a span of time.
Yeah.
That it would be like a 5-hour long movie and there's so many of them.
Yeah. And I just think, I think knowing the true story is also really important.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're missing 2 whole brothers.
I know.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that they just like completely left out Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I'm glad. Thank you, Michaela, for this.
Yes, Michaela.
I wanted to do this for a while, and I feel like this kind of gave me a good reason to do it. So.
And that's definitely that's a good art theater movie. If that ever comes up in your art theater near you, go friggin' watch it. Whew. Well, speaking of Michaela. So Michaela, who is the communications manager at the Barrymore Film Center in New Jersey, sent in a fun little New Jersey listener story.
Love that.
And this is actually about a place that I've been to before.
Really?
Clinton Road.
Oh.
Me and Kate went there.
I've heard of Clinton Road in Jersey.
All right. So Michaela says, there is a road in New Jersey called Clinton Road. It's in West Milford, and the thing that high school kids do once they start getting their licenses is drive to Clinton Road at night once it's dark out looking for any known ghosts. The thing with the road is that it's basically in the woods, so there is no service for the entire stretch of the road. But strangely enough, service cuts out right as you turn to the road and then comes back on right as you leave it.
Oh.
It is creepy. As someone who grew up in Bergen County, I used to go to the road all of the time with my friends. There was one night where my friend Nick and I were on the road talking about the lore or what surrounds it. And there was this ridiculous curve. It's called Dead Man's Curve.
Don't love that.
It's so crazy because I've literally been here. So I'm like picturing.
You went on the road? You drove on the road?
We drove on it. Yeah.
Did Kate tell you about the lore?
Yeah, of course. That's why we went.
Oh, okay.
I'm the one who forced this.
Oh.
The turn comes out of nowhere, where supposedly a young boy had died, and now he haunts it. The woods are rumored to be a dumping ground for the mafia and also known as a space for satanic rituals. People have reported tons of ghost cars, tons of crazy stuff. And on this particular night, Nick and I were driving down the road, and there was a car behind us that was pretty close to our bumper. Their lights were truly right behind us. Since it's a 2-lane road, cars usually will just pass you on the left, veering into oncoming traffic, trying to get around the drivers that are quote-unquote too slow. Nick and I figured that the car would just pass us and keep driving. The car continued to stay directly behind us for a few minutes longer, even when we slowed down a little bit to let it pass. At this point, Nick and I started to get a little bit scared. Not because we thought it was a ghost, but because we were 2 young people on a road with no service and assumed that the person in the car behind us was using that to their advantage.
Yeah.
So we sped up. We tried to get a little bit of space between us and the car, but they still stayed right behind us. It's important to note that Clinton Road, like most secluded roads in New Jersey, barely has any streetlights. So truly the only lights that we had besides our own car lights and the occasional streetlight were just the blaring, too close for comfort car headlights that were right behind us. We kept driving, and we finally came to the curve in the road. It wasn't Dead Man's Curve, but once we turned, the lights behind us were gone.
No.
We assumed they would come back around us, once the other car made the curve, but they never did. This truly was a split-second change from bright lights to total darkness. No car would have been able to cut all of its lights out in that amount of time. Even if the car behind us stopped completely, we would have seen the lights at least turn out. Nick and I were, of course, freaked out, trying to make sense of what happened. I think we settled on this idea that somehow the car had stopped at the curve and we had just truly missed it. But it could have been a ghost car. A lot of weird things have happened to me in my life, and I've always assumed that it was some sort of intuition with ghosts or demons. Although, I guess it could just be general anxiety. Same girl. This moment, however, has stuck with me as something that I simply cannot explain. How does a car go from being right behind you to gone in a second?
Because it's a ghost.
I'm not completely sure. Story by Michaela. Ooh, that was good.
That was good.
Also, I've been there, so I have in my mind like where you were, and also, I know that road.
There's just nothing like, I mean, they have it obviously on the West Coast, but I'm from New York. I'm from the East Coast.
Yeah.
There's nothing like rural, like New Jersey, New York, East Coast, Connecticut area.
Oh yeah.
Where you're just driving and there's just pitch black and it's so scary.
Well, Northern Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona has the same thing.
Around here, not as much. They have it a little bit like when you drive the desert between like California and Arizona, or like California and Vegas, or like, up towards Reno,
but not
or
really
whatever.
like where we live right now.
But it's also like it's not the desert is not the same as driving through like
the woods. Yeah,
the wooded area is so much creepier than the desert. Because the desert is like you flash a flashlight and you can see straight however far the flashlight goes. When you're in the woods, like the trees are creating shadows.
It's so dark.
Oh yeah,
it's
like
so dark.
You have your headlights. Your headlights are like all obscured by the trees and all that stuff. If you try to look anywhere, like so much creepier.
So scary.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that story, Michaela. And thank you for reaching out to us. And I'm glad we could do this episode.
Yeah, this was great.
Totally love to support any sort of nonprofit or local theater. And we also just love New Jersey.
Our best friend is from New Jersey.
Literally.
We love her.
Literally. But yeah, so if you guys would like to if you're in the area and you would like to check out the Barrymore Film Center, you can do that at barrymorefilmcenter.org. You can follow them on Instagram at the Barrymore Film Center. Same with Facebook and X or Twitter.
I was going to say X.
Sorry.
You said that X. And I literally was like,
I've never said X in my life. On Twitter, the artist formerly known as Twitter, at Barrymore Film. So you can check that out and see what's playing in your area. I'm sure they have lots of great stuff. And we just love that kind of stuff. So yeah. If you have a story you would like to send in to us, you can do that at dtkpod.com/contact. And let us know about your favorite local theater. We love that.
Yes.
Yeah. And we're just so happy for you guys to be listening to us. Not for you. We're happy that you listen to us. We dig you.
I almost just choked on the line.
I don't
I was like, what are you
I don't
saying?
mix up my words that often. That was a weird one.
We're so happy for you guys to be listening to us.
We are. Like, we're just so happy. We're so happy for you guys to support and that you listen to us. And just thank you so much. We couldn't do this podcast without you.
Literally could not.
Thank you to all of our cool kids and all of our patrons. If you would like to join our Patreon, you can do that at dtkpod.com/support or at patreon.com/drinkingthekool-aid. And if you haven't yet, make sure you leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening. That makes a huge difference. But most importantly, make sure you keep that front door locked.
Make sure you keep your mind open.
And keep drinking the Kool-Aid.